Welcome to this episode of CynSpeaks. In this episode, we're going to talk about you and you in relation to the world and the universe and other people and other beings. So let's get started. Okay, so I want to talk first about the people that feel like they're by themselves and feel like they're alone. And I want to tell you that you're not alone. You are supported. And you are supported if only by God or the God in you or your higher self, however you choose to believe that. But you are supported. You're not alone. So when you feel like you're alone, just remember that you're not. That is a thought that was put there by you and that was welcome to stay by you. So if you no longer want to feel alone, stop thinking that you are alone, because you're not. Also, in this world, we are all connected, and collectively, you're in it with a lot of us. And if you're listening to this podcast, most likely you have thoughts and beliefs that don't align with others, so you feel like you're alone. But I'm here to tell you that there are probably a lot of people that believe very similar to what you believe, and you may not have found those people yet because they're probably not from your past, but if you are taking the right steps in your life to grow your life and really get in alignment with yourself, you will probably start running into these people. They'll probably start to see you, and you'll probably start to connect with them in your life experience. So first, let me tell you that you are not alone. If you are in scenarios where you are feeling like a lot is on your shoulders, there might be a lot on your shoulders. You then have to decide what to do. You have to decide if you want to keep all of these things on your shoulders or if you want to let go of some of that baggage. Some of the baggage that we carry was put there by us. Some of the baggage that we carry has nothing to do with us. Some of the baggage that we carry has been created and we're holding on to it. Like, some of that stuff doesn't need to be held on to. Actually, most of that stuff doesn't need to be held on to. So as you're creating, as you're working on projects, as you're spending time with self, remember that, like, yes, you may be in your world by yourself, but you don't have to be. But also that some of the things that you're carrying, you don't have to carry. What I mean by that is some of these burdens that are either from our past, for other people, or created by us. So burdens from your past are going to be things like emotional baggage, unforgiveness, anger. Hurt is a feeling, but it's something that we can hold on to longer than we have to. Mainly that lack of forgiveness will cause you to hold on to so much baggage that you really don't need. So the ability to really spend time focused on getting rid of that baggage or just ignoring it so that it doesn't continue to manifest is important. When you go through therapy, one of the huge things therapists do, and even psych professionals are taught to do, is to look at your past to figure out your current situation. Well, why do I feel about this way? Let's look to the past for why I feel this pain so badly. There's value in that, but only to a certain extent. If you continue to go back to the past and feel these feelings and experience these things that didn't feel good, you're breathing life right back into it. How are you going to get over something if you're hearing about it every week or you're talking about it every single week? So although I'm not against therapy, just think about that as well. If you keep going back to the same things and you keep talking about the same things, how are you going to get delivered from those things? How are you going to stop feeling that pain if you keep talking about it and you keep breathing life into it? So that's baggage that we could be holding on to in our reality that we don't have to. Then there's the baggage that we hold on to for other people, and that could be obligations. I've been someone that overfilled my plate many times to help other people, and at the end of the day, it burnt me out. I didn't have to do that. I don't do that anymore, but I did. And I know a lot of people that do that because they're just kind and good, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's so beautiful that you are kind and a good person. Just make sure that you are taking care of self first and you're not carrying the burdens of others. If you have friends that only call you to vent, they're only calling you when something goes wrong, or when something goes wrong and they call you and expect for you to hold space for them, you might want to look at setting boundaries with some of those friends, because you're probably going to get sick of hearing about the negative things. Even if you want to help your friends, that pulls you right out of alignment with where you need to be every time you spend time thinking about negative things. So if your friends are doing that, just maybe set the boundary, like, hey, I don't have space right now. And sometimes I have to do that. I can't hold space for people sometimes. And that's because I'm dealing with my own stuff, or I'm just trying to get rid of some stuff, right? And if somebody calls you and they're just dumping on you every time they talk to you, like, that doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. So think about that. Like, sometimes we hold on to baggage that we don't need because we're trying to be nice, which ends up getting you to a space where you have too much on your plate. There's that past, there's the baggage for others, and then there's our things that we create. Like, overfilling your plate is an example of creating baggage. Like, you don't have to do everything all the time. Being a perfectionist can add baggage. I've struggled with this, and I'm actually still dealing with it, but with this podcast even, I said it before, but I struggled getting started because I wanted everything to be perfect. And then I decided I'm just going to go for it, make adjustments as I go, improve as I go. And my listeners, because I know who my listeners are going to be, my listeners will be excited at the fact that we're growing together. And as you are growing your reality, and you're taking the things that I share with you and growing your scenario and your lifestyle, I'm also growing this podcast. And so we're growing together, and that's why I say let's grow together, because that's really what it is. And I appreciate the patience from you guys and the love and support that I get from you all as I'm growing the podcast, because we're in this together and we're on different journeys, but we're all in the same experience, and I really appreciate that. But having the perfectionism as your focus and I need to be perfect, it needs to be perfect, having that as your focus will create unnecessary baggage. I can't tell you how many times I've created extra steps for stuff, like, for no reason, just because I thought it needed to be done that way, or because I wanted it to be perfect and I wanted to check and make sure that it was perfect, and check and check and check and double check and triple check, and before I even produce the thing. No, you can make adjustments as you go. Like, you can edit things as you go. You can improve as you go. So sometimes being too perfect or wanting to be too perfect can not only stifle you from moving forward, but can also create unnecessary baggage and steps and work for yourself. There's another side of this too. And there are some people that feel like they're alone, and there are other people that believe that they're the only thing that's important. And if you believe that you are the only thing that's important, you're living in a reality that isn't real, because you're probably living from a space of fear, and you're probably missing out on a lot of amazing experiences and interactions and relationships because you're only focused on your own needs. And I don't want to bash anybody, because that's not what I'm here to do. Especially because people who believe that they're the only one have probably been through some things. You've probably been through some stuff where people have told you that you aren't important, or people have told you that you're not allowed to worry about yourself, or people have told you, like, you're dealing with trauma, most likely. And for that, I'm sorry. Like, that's not cool, that's not okay, and I know that's hard. I just know that you will get so much more out of your life experience if you start to think about other people and really you'll get into a space where you will stop being so fearful of opening up to others, that you will grow more meaningful relationships. So knowing that you are connected to people and people can feel your energy, and when you're sad, people know it, and the people close to you love you, like knowing that you don't have to be afraid to be yourself, and you don't have to be afraid to improve, and you don't have to be you don't have to be afraid to do that. It's not all about you, but it's okay to accept you. And I feel like the people who kind of have to insert themselves in everything, or are so selfish that they don't give to others, like those people are struggling with something. So don't always see those people for the toxic behaviors, because some of those behaviors are very, very toxic. It's important to set your boundaries, but also don't judge them. Like, you can set a boundary without judging somebody, and you can protect yourself without being harmful to somebody else. So just try to be mindful of that. And when you have the opportunity, open up the discussion. Like, hey, why are you like that? Or why do you feel that way? Do you think that we don't hear you? We hear you. Like, I hear you. I'm listening. I want to hear what you're saying. I want to know how you feel. I want to know why you feel that way. And that doesn't mean it's going to fix the person or cure the person or anything like that. But if you're a support person to the people that don't feel like they're being seen or heard, or don't feel like their opinions matter, like, you may be able to help them a little bit. As always, do what you need to do for you, but it's so important because a lot of our kids, or now adults, have been brought up to believe, oh, be seen and not heard. Why? Like, you're raising children, but you're also raising future adults. Like, when you're raising a child, you're raising them to be an adult. So when you're raising them and you're telling them that their opinion doesn't matter, what type of adult are you raising? What type of adult are you grooming? What type of future husband, future wife, future mother, future father are you raising if you tell them that their opinion doesn't matter? So a lot of us have been told that, and I see a huge shift in the way that people my age are parenting, because we're listening to our kids. And that doesn't mean you don't teach your kids respect, and you don't teach your kids, that certain conversations are not for children, that type of thing. But you can teach that while still listening to them. And when your kid comes home and they want you to listen to them, put your phone down and listen to them, because they need that. And remember who you were at that age and what you needed at that age. And maybe you didn't get it. Maybe you did get it. If you did get it, even more reason to give it. But be the person that you needed. And sometimes it's hard to do. I can't tell you how many times my 3-year-old explains to me all the things about Power Rangers. Just all the things. Now, these are new Power Rangers. They have like all these new Power Rangers now. I was a Power Rangers fan back in the day when I was a kid. And so I know a little something about Power Rangers. So when he's explaining these things, of course I can catch on to it pretty quickly. But I let him talk because he's talking. He's expressing himself, usually in great detail. He knows exactly what he's talking about. And I'm pretty entertained because it's awesome that he's forming an opinion on something. He plays pretend. He's a hoot. If you know Tristan, he's so funny. But I let him talk. And I'll put my phone down and I'll look him in the eyes and I will listen, and I will be so excited to hear what he has to say. Sometimes he'll pretend that he's one of the Power Rangers, and I'll say, hey, Tristan, come here. And he says, I'm not Tristan, I'm whatever the character's name is. So, okay, for the rest of the day, I just call him by the new character's name. It's cool. I let him be a kid because he's not hurting anything. He's not harming anything. He's forming his opinion on life. And sometimes he doesn't want to be Tristan. Sometimes he wants to be the Blue Ranger. And we let him do that. So some of us didn't get that as kids. And as adults, we're like, man, why do we have to take everything so seriously? Or why is my voice not heard? And that's not necessarily the case. Like, just because it was true when you were a kid doesn't make it true now. And you're an adult. If you're an adult now, like, you can say what you need to say, and you should, because you probably have some stories that are going to help some people, and you're allowed to speak up for yourself. Like, you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to say no thank you. You are allowed to say this makes me uncomfortable. So it's important to do that. So find that balance of knowing that you're not alone. There are people out there supporting you, but also knowing that you're not the center of all attention. So finding that balance will create a really healthy relationship, not only with yourself, but you'll start to build healthier relationships with other people and move into a space where you can start to open up to people and watch how meaningful your relationships start to become. As always, thank you so much for joining and hanging out with me today, growing. I appreciate you so much, and I don't know how else to express it to you guys, but I'm really so thankful for this platform and ability to share my perspective with you guys. I really hope it's helping. Like, I really love that feedback, knowing, hey, this worked for me. Hey, I tried this and it worked. Hey, I tried this and it didn't work. I'm growing just as you're growing. I'm learning just as you're learning. So share with me your feedback. Share with me your perspectives, whether you agree or disagree, always with respect, of course, but let me know what's going on in your heads. Let me know your thoughts. On the Instagram page, follow me at Cynamon Voe, tag your people, share, repost, all the things. I always show love when I can. When I see it, I will share and show support. I appreciate it so much. Let's grow together. Until next time.